Well, namaste. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday night Anamkara meditation program. With all my heart and with all my love, I welcome you to our program this evening. And thank you for coming and bringing your sublime light of consciousness to this gathering. We exist in this field of consciousness. It's so great about what's been happening with quantum physics, talking about this unified field of consciousness in which everything is. And that at the root of everything is this energy that has the quality of consciousness. That's us. So when we get together, it may appear that we're physically separate, but in this field of consciousness, there are no boundaries. There are no others. There's no separation. So we can feel that connection and we can feel that oneness. That's what opens up fully through, of course, meditation practices. So thank you for coming this evening and bringing your sublime consciousness, bringing your great intentions to be ones who walk that consciousness into the world for the benefit of all. So great to be in your company. So again, thank you for coming this evening. Now, and we're at a time of the year where, of course, we've just about hit the longest night, the darkest hours of this season. And so all the more reason to get together in the light and celebrate that light. And with that in mind, I wanted to read something this is from Oh My Beloved, Whisperings from the Divine heard by Kalidas. It's for the love of light. For the love of light, we celebrate the winter solstice, the oil lamps remaining lit, the baby born in a manger, Buddha's enlightenment, the luminous words of sages and saints, all pointing to the true light, whose nature is all-embracing love. We celebrate the One taking forms to deliver us from the darkness of ignorance, illuminating the way. For the one true way is the light of love. It's the light of love. That's the true way. Follow her. Follow her and know the divine embrace, know boundless eternal love. So happy holidays to all. So that's what all these great holidays that we celebrate this time of year, so informed really by our experience collectively of humanity over millennia in the Northern Hemisphere, where things grow darker and darker, and we celebrate that return of light. And we celebrate that the light was never extinguished. It grows dim, and then it comes back and fills us again. That beautiful symbol of the yin and the yang from the Eastern traditions captures that. So that we know that in the depths of our being. And we have to remember that. It's all about remembering that light can never be extinguished. And so even when we're caught in the darkness of thoughts, the darkness of our minds, the darkness of things that unfold in the world, we want to stay in touch with what that eternal truth is, the living presence of that light that can be known anytime and any place, simply by shifting our attention. We shift our attention from what's being illuminated, all the content of mind, of thoughts, of the world, of things around us. We shift our attention from the content of what's being illuminated to the source of illumination. That source, that's the divine within. That's that one consciousness that illuminates all. That is the source for all that's ephemeral. It rests on that eternal one, the light of the infinite, the light of yourself, that can never be extinguished. We can forget it. We can lose track of it in our mind. Fortunately, it never loses track of us. So it's always present, always illuminating, and always showing that light is there. We just need to shift our attention, which sometimes is no easy feat because it means letting go of what is engaging the mind to turn it towards that light. And even negative things are particularly engaging for the mind. The fear-driven mind gets taken over And that's why we've coined the term in psychology called amygdala hijack. It's a part of the brain that has to do with the fight, flight, freeze response. Very powerful part of the brain. And it takes things over. It takes over our attention. So our practices are about deconditioning the mind and its reactivity so we can begin to really experience the fullness, that expansive field of self-luminous consciousness in which we are all facets of that arising and subsiding. All of creation is that. And when we see through the eyes of our own highest self, we see that. We see that. That then informs our vision. We also see the particulars, we see the limitations, but now we're not solely identified with them. We're not caught up in them. We're not caught in that trap of that's all there is, because we discover the source of all that is, and it's beyond anything manifested. So all our practices are aimed at coming home to that. The great traditions that we celebrate in the holy days of this month celebrate revelations, whether the revelation was through an individual or the birth of an individual, whether it was the revelation of the divine presence by keeping the oil lamps lit, the blessings that flow from the divine in so many ways. We're always celebrating that one. So when we look past the differences that seem to exist across different cultures and religious traditions and see that they're all informed by the luminous, loving presence of the one, that's what we come home to. That's what we celebrate. And that's what all our practices aim at giving us the direct, full experience of, so we can live that into this world. So this evening I thought I would open it up because it's the last satsang of the year. And I'm going to make a shift now. Oh, good. Good to see everybody. So anything as we're wrapping up this year and dealing with everything internal, external, living the practices, anything come to mind? Anything you'd like to share? Anything that's a question? Anything that you've been enjoying as you're doing your practices or insights? Anything. They're just wide open.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. Good to see you, man.
Everybody, yeah. Based on that comment there, what it's interesting. I was meditating and I got kind of deep, but I made up my own my own mantra,
Mm-hmm.
and it was called blah blah blah.
Uh-huh.
And it's because my mind kept on talking, right? It's a thinking thing. And I was like, and I kept on saying blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And it worked.
Right.
It like, I got much like really deeper. Now, the
Right.
thing that kind of bugs me about that is that my other mantra was Om Namah Shivaya.
Right.
So I'm just wondering what, you mentioned like there's energy in certain mantras
Right.
passed down from lineage for thousands of years, whatever. What are people missing when they don't do those? Because I ask that because there's a lot of non-dualistic and Buddhism and all kinds of
Right.
practitioners of the same similar same kind of path who don't do these mantras. They do, we all know they do a lot of breathing work.
Right.
That's a big thing. Eckhart Tolle, for instance, he talks about a lot of breath and this and that, and or they do whatever they do, but they don't necessarily do Om Namah Shivaya or Om
Right.
Shanti Shanti or all the many Om ones that the variations of that. So,
Right.
given this experience I just had, which was kind of amazing, I couldn't believe it. I don't know how do you justify that kind of thing?
Right. Oh, well, I have no need to justify it, but I can give you some thoughts on it. So
I don't mean it that way.
yeah. So, it was interesting. Back in the early 70s, there was a researcher, Herb Benson at Harvard. He was a cardiologist, and he coined the term the relaxation response. And he did some research on mantra and found, that was people were invoking this relaxation response. And then he decided, well, rather than using a classic mantra, he would teach people just to say the word one. One, one, one. Just one, one, one. Right? And Lo and behold, if they did it, long enough, they too started to invoke the relaxation response. So what we're really talking about is, and when you start to relate to your mind by detaching and going blah, 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 you're telling your mind, I'm not listening to you. You got nothing to say to me that's worth giving my attention to. Otherwise, you're giving your attention to it, and it just drags you along with it. So you created a space of detachment. In that detachment, things start to settle and quiet down, which is all good. So there are many ways that one can learn. Part of my profession was as a biofeedback clinician. Taught people all kinds of breathing techniques, even more effectively done with biofeedback to train it. All will be able to invoke the relaxation response and quieting the mind. If that's all there was to knowing the divine, that would be pretty easy. However, not so much. So where the word 111 or blah, blah, blah will take you, 10 feet down the path, and that feels great. Is it going to take you into unity and sustain that? Is it going to help clear the rest of the subtle body, the mind, heal the physical body as well? So the energies that run through mantra are greater than just what works through the power of the mind. So that's why, the Shakti traditions making use of mantra focus on that. And mantrayana, the path of mantra is part of the Tibetan Buddhist path as well. Same idea of the Shaktis that are inherent in these sounds that then convey that. And they're very different than what will unfold through the ordinary mind and its words. Even though in a moment, just trying to train yourself to relax. When I was doing peak performance training with, for instance, with athletes, I would teach them a simple phrase. I wouldn't call it a mantra because it's not a mantra. Someone would say, oh, it's like a mantra. I said, no, it's just a phrase, but it's going to help. It's going to help. So you do calm and steady, just silent in your mind. Say calm and steady as the breath comes in, detached and aware as the breath goes out. Calm and steady, detached and aware. You just keep doing that and just notice. You just might invite your breath to slow and deepen some. Just calm and steady, detached and aware. And they'd be hooked up to a biofeedback monitor and they'd see their whole physiology changing. Because that kind of relaxation response is the initial stage of meditation. And developing the skill at being able to invoke that reliably, consistently, is part of what we want to be able to do with meditation. But it's not the total of meditation. It's not the end of meditation. So just being able to have a quiet mind isn't even it. That's why in, every tradition as it goes deeper starts to talk, the state of meditation isn't conditioned by the state of mind. Think about that. That's why Buddha said, don't be attached to states of mind. The state of meditation is not a state of mind. We associate the shift in the state of mind to a calmer space with entering meditative kinds of spaces. But the consciousness that we're aiming at for really profound meditation expands way beyond mind, contains the mind, whether it's agitated, in pain, calm, asleep, in dreams, in deep sleep, in any waking state. Meditation subsumes all of that. So to explore the breadth, depth of meditation is to go beyond, completely beyond. So now we're with the Buddha's mantra. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhi, swaha. Gone, beyond, fully beyond. Hail the goer. You. Swaha. Right? So that's what it is. So we can use any number of, you can use a single sound, and it'll help to calm the mind. It'll help to invoke the relaxation response. But when we're talking about sort of dialing into the kinds of Shakti practices, and there are many different ones. There's not one tradition has, a hold on that. various kinds of mantra practices, various kinds of yogic practices, various kinds of devotional practices, but they're all aimed at taking us beyond the mind, transforming the mind in the process, but opening the doors of who are you beyond the mind? Who are you beyond calm and agitated? Does it really matter if you're calm and agitated to yourself? Not at all. Yourself is in meditation all the time. The state of meditation is the state of the infinite. So it's not contingent on the state of mind. We think it is because we're so identified with mind. Say, oh, I had a good meditation. It means that my mind became quiet. But meditation was there before your mind became quiet. But because the mind so habitually goes after all movements of mind, thoughts, feelings, sensations, memories, right? Fantasies about the past, the present, the future. That's what engages the mind. So it only begins to experience consciousness as consciousness when the content is diminished. So that's why in the initial stages of meditation, we're trying to reduce content. Why do we want to sit in a quieter space? Why do we want to sit apart from activity and not have the body and everything moving? It's not because meditation, the state of meditation, is contingent on those things. It's because our attention has been so habitually wedded to movements of mind and body for so long, we have a real difficulty separating out from that. And it's one of the fundamental aspects of viveka, of discrimination, is to separate who you are from what the mind is. And that you, as the infinite, the self, is always present, regardless of whatever the state of your mind is.
Right. I have to follow up with that just really quick. Yeah. So isn't the prerequisite for grace, so to speak, or Kundalini, having an empty, silent mind?
No.
No? Wow.
No.
Okay, that's the first time I've ever heard that out of
Yeah.
20 years.
It's
Right,
just,
but if you have all this stuff going on, there's no sort of, the energy gets stuck and all that, right?
no, your mind gets stuck. The energy's going to do her work, right? Awakening of Kundalini has to do with an evolutionary path of consciousness across lifetimes. But it doesn't have to do with it just happens in stillness. A woman contacted me. She was in a Walmart parking lot, and she suddenly had a Kundalini awakening. Her mind wasn't still. She was busy shopping. She was busy trying to steer her shopping cart, and all of a sudden she had this wild, ecstatic unity experience in the midst of that. Not contingent on anything. Grace is not contingent on anything. The power of Shakti is not contingent on anything. Our ability to enter that, to stay with that, to sustain that, then we want a disciplined mind, a purified mind, a clearer mind. Otherwise, we just get intermittent experiences. And so we learn, oh, no, I want to train my mind. Don't go running after every thought, every impulse, every reaction, everything like that. That's then we start to see. And that allows me to experience the fullness of the living presence of the divine more and more, because I'm not blocking the view by entering the forest of thoughts.
So there is a blockage that can happen.
Yeah, but it's not around Kundalini awakening. Kundalini awakening is not contingent upon having a quiet mind.
Or a clear head or anything like that.
Yeah. It's an evolutionary phase. And practices, people begin practices way before they even have that kind of awakening experience. They go through lifetimes of practice. So what people go, I had a spontaneous awakening. No, okay, that it certainly was experienced as spontaneous. That's absolutely true. But it's only because they didn't know all the lifetimes of effort and grace that went into leading up to that moment.
And if they want to continue, that's where all the work has been done.
Yeah, and they'll pick up and they'll go, oh, it's better if I do this. It's better if I do that.
Right. Wow. It's so easy to get caught up.
Yep. That's the nature of the mind. It's like a net. It just swamps our consciousness.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank
Sure,
you.
I'll have
Great
another
question,
one
Josh.
later. That's good.
Good. Anybody else with any thoughts or questions?
Hey, Lawrence, happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you too.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, so I wanted to ask the
Yeah.
last couple weeks since our last meeting, I've been experiencing some lovely experiences of flow and specifically around shadow work and
Mm,
patterns that have
mm,
been coming up.
mm.
And my question is, how do you best navigate your aspects of self that may be difficult to look at as they come up, which require you to, I guess, be identified with the individual self while also remaining present
Right.
with consciousness, right? I mean, I'm trying to best put this. How am I?
You're doing a good job.
How does one stay present with their consciousness, the true self, while also reliving and experiencing these moments of individual identification with self that have led to, say, patterns that you're trying to let go of or are
Right.
being called to let go of?
Yes. Yes. Great sadhana question, because it's the crux of sadhana practice and meditation practice, and it's why the practice of mantra and witness together. The mantra is the witness, and the mantra is a sound form, a throb of witness, of Shiva, of Shakti, of pure consciousness. Mm? So we want to more and more practice being able to be in that state while we're watching. Now you're illuminating. It's the consciousness that illuminates the mind. And the shadow material comes up quite spontaneously in meditative practices because it's bound energy. Energy wants to be freed. Shakti wants to free us of all those bound, contracted patterns and identities that we've inhabited in the past. So what we want to do is not re-inhabit it by soul identification. It's realizing there's a part that's identified with that, but the whole isn't. Mm? So what's really critical for sadhana practice is that differentiation between the part and the whole. Mm? The whole is what's illuminating it, and it illuminates it with love, with compassion. Mm? You think of the four immeasurables that Buddha spoke about, right? Boundless love, boundless compassion, boundless wisdom, boundless joy. That's the nature of the witness, looking at its creation, the mind, and say, oh, you got so caught in that. It's time to get free. I'm not going to say, oh, go with that and do that again or stay with that. No, you're going to start to go, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to, that was an experience in the past. I can let it go. I can get free of it. I can see what caught me about the identification. I can see what that pattern, where it arose from, but it's not me. The me that is true, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Kali Ma. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you can see that why it is such an important practice to get grounded in the witness. The witness it's different from the mind witnessing. We start out, the mind practices witnessing. And it practices just being sort of detached, looking. But the mind's witnessing is a very cognitive kind of event. Mm? It's thinking, I'm the witness. I'm just going to watch. I'm holding steady and I'm just watching. I'm going to watch and I'm going to breathe. I'm going to watch and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to do the mantra. See, look at me, I'm doing it. And it's like we're on a tricycle with the training wheels. The witness is gone, you're such a sweetheart, mind. Look at you trying your best. You're wonderful. The witness doesn't have to do all that stuff. The witness is just there. It's just the consciousness illuminating. And it's illuminating it with the light of love, the light of compassion, the light of understanding, the light of freedom. Mm? So we get to see how the mind postures that witness, but it can't bring boundless love. It brings a little love, but sometimes it gets impatient and then we're scolding ourselves. It brings a little compassion, but then it gets annoyed with the mind and how continuously it keeps repeating the same pattern. Now the compassion's out the window, we're hammering ourselves. Hmm? So it's letting go of all that, because that's not yourself. That's the mind fighting with itself and reifying its own bound nature. We want to just step back and go, Let it go, let it go. See it, get free of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Just continuing on the identification
Mm-hmm.
theme.
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking a lot about identification lately because, say, for example, like writing a bio always gives me a lot of anxiety
Mm-hmm.
because it's asking you to say like who you are. And like it's getting to the point where I'm just like, it makes me want to run away. Like, don't ask me to identify with anything, you know? So I'm just wondering, like, how do we make that separation? Because we live in a society that's like,
Right.
who
Absolutely.
are you? Who are
Right.
you?
Yeah. But they're also not asking for the truth of who you are.
That's,
They're
yeah,
asking for a
okay.
persona. All right. Because they don't have a clue. Typically, they don't have a clue who they are. So how are they going to ask about the truth of who you are? So, so we're on the level of personas interacting with personas, masks interacting with masks, and that's why it's really. I've enjoyed sometimes being with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And he'll just talk about the conventional self, and it's very clear we have to have a conventional self that works in the world. It's the mask we put on. We only get into trouble if we identify with it and think that's who we are. Then you're in trouble. But to say, okay, what's being asked for in this bio for whatever, or a CV or whatever it is, they're just asking some practical stuff and some information, whatever, and it's very much in that domain of conventional reality. Uh, and the witness is just looking on and smiling, going, yeah, here we are. This is the unfolding of display, right? So it gives you the opportunity to be playful. I don't necessarily mean in how you write it, but internally, because you're not taking it seriously. It's just like, oh, this is part of this play.
Yeah. Even right down to like, oh, I'm, and that was like born and raised in, or whatever
Yeah,
it is, like I'm from New
yeah,
York or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's, I think this, I've seen it with folks who are very, deeply committed and dedicated and sincere about their spiritual practice. Um, those kinds of little questions can trip them up because it's like they want to be sincere and genuine, and then it's like you come up with all these weird machinations. I mean, the kinds of language that comes out of, well, I'm not the this, and it comes out stilted and odd. No, we're just talking about conventional reality. That too is all right. That too is part of the unfolding of Shakti. We can play that game and not take it seriously that that's all they are or that's all who I am. So we can speak naturally. You say, oh yeah, somebody asked the Dalai Lama who he is. "Oh, I'm just a simple monk." That's how he looks at himself. He's not going to go into the truth of who he is.
Right.
Inexpressible. We know he knows that, but that's not what's being asked. So
I see. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. No, that's very good. So we're going to be chanting one of the Maha mantras, Om Kalima, Kali Namo Nama, an indication of our own essential nature, known by so many different names. But it's the living presence of the divine. It takes the sound form, but it sheds that. It takes the sound form, it takes the thought form, it takes the word form out of love for you, out of love, because it wants to reach out and say, here's something, oh mind, oh my own creation, oh my own self. Your mind is the Shakti, is the Devi. There's no separation there. But the mind has gotten so involuted, focused on itself and its content, that then the Shakti has to go, okay, time to end that part of this drama and start to discover the fullness of being, already here, never left, unbroken, unbreakable. That's yourself. So when we engage in the use of a great mantra, because it arises from the infinite, it dissolves back into the infinite. Words of the mind arise from the mind. They may take us to a quiet mind. Quiet mind is still bound. If you wind up in just a quiet mind, if you look around, you'll see there's still limitations. You're just this one being sitting in this one little space in this one little time. You haven't touched the infinitude of being. That means going beyond all. That's why when we become absorbed in mantra, that's Om Kalima or Om Namah Shivaya, Om Mani Padme Hum, Hamsa, Aham, these great mantras come through the lineages I was given to pass them on, others as well. We're tapping into this throb of the infinite that is self-dissolving. We enter it on the level, what's called a grosser level. Word form, thought form, sound form. That's the grosser, more obvious level of its manifestation. Because that's where the ordinary mind is. That's where it needs to have something to take hold of. Stay with it. Stay with it. Become absorbed in it. Hold the awareness, I am that. I am this throb of the infinite. I am this mantra. I am the throb of Om Namah Shivaya. I am the throb of Om Kalima. I am that. Until finally, that awareness is what's throbbing. It's a throb of awareness. The sound form, the thought form, dissolves into the throb of awareness of being. Not the thought I'm being, the throb of boundless being. Boundless, all-encompassing, all-embracing being. That is overwhelming to the mind. Because it's a sense of being that envelops everything. Everything. All reality. All dimensions of reality. All galaxies. Right? The entire universe fits within that awareness like a speck of sand. That's what you're capable of knowing. Knowing that, everything else takes its rightful place and its rightful size in creation. The things that overwhelm the mind become small and manageable because they're illuminated by the infinite one, yourself. So the practice of mantra, of dissolving in mantra, is dissolving in consciousness itself. Beyond thoughts, beyond beliefs, beyond words, beyond everything. Unspeakable. Unknowable to the mind, which is why it appears as a void, as blackness. Because the mind is going to be extinguished. The little light of the mind, it's like a candle. It can't illumine the sun. But the sun illumines all. Yourself illumines all. So we'll chant and then sit in that stillness. All of which is illuminated by the self. All of which, the sounds, the thoughts, the chants, the stillness, the sense of a body, all is being illuminated by the one. Shift your attention from what's being illuminated to the illumination itself. That's always present, always. Day and night, never a moment that is not there. That luminous one is you. So, the throb of that, Om Kalima, Om Kalima, Om Kalima. Shri Mata Kali Devi Ki Jai. Om Kali Ma Kali Namo Namah. Kali Kali Namo Namah Om 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 Kali Namo Namah Om Kali Namo Namah Kali Namo Namah Om Kali Namo Om Kali Namo Om Kali So we end with this prayer. May all our practices truly benefit everyone, and may all beings know complete freedom from suffering. And namaste. The self-luminous one, always present, illuminating the mind, whether it's noisy or busy, quiet or still, whether it's filled with joy or filled with pain. The rapturous one watches with love, compassion, holding it all in its divine embrace. That's what we come to know when we move beyond the mind. First, we want to just change the content, transform the mind. But meditation, it's infinite. It's infinite. Extends way beyond the mind in anything it can know, anything it can hold. Your true self holds it all, creates it all, sustains it all, dissolves it all. Moment by moment. That fullness, unbreakable, undiminished, always here, always now. Know that. That's the light that illumines all darkness. That's what we celebrate this time of year. This is from Gently Falls Her Rain of Light. May you revel in the luminous gifts of grace this holiday season. May you know the love of the one that dissolves all differences. May you know the love of the one that embraces all with compassion. May you know the love of the one that infuses you with steady wisdom. May you know the love of the one that bestows unshakable peace. May you know the love of the one taking birth now in your heart. Always, always arising, always filling, always illuminating, here and now, always holding it all, its divine embrace. That's the truth of who you are. Come home to that through mantra, through stillness, through any means that the Shakti gives you, until you go beyond all means to source itself. So I want to thank you all for coming this evening, bringing your sublime self, the light of your infinite, boundless consciousness, the light of your love and compassion, and being ones who walk that into this world. And so, once again, with all my heart, with all my love, I thank you for coming this evening, and have a wonderful holiday and a fabulous, light-filled new year. Jai Ma.